Dear students, today I am taking up chapter 19, Upward and Downward L and Ish. We know this L has got two forms. At the beginning we have learned this upward form of L. This L may be written upward to downward also. So this is upward L and this is downward form of L. This upward form of L is most commonly written form of consonant. For example, lapse, spell, load, sail, etc. So we use upward L very often. When L immediately precedes or follows a circle which is attached to a curve is written in the same direction as the circle. For example, you have to write the outline for lesson. Now, if you write upward L, what happens? Circle is going in this direction. Now, if you have to write N, you have to change the direction, come back and write. It gives awkward joining. Instead of that, if you write downward L circle, to write R, just you can move forward and write N. It gives good joining. Here we prefer downward L. In the word vessel, V, circle. Circle is moving downward. It is convenient to write L also downward. Losing. Suppose if you write upward L circle, what happens? Circle S is moving in this direction. Now we have to write ing. You have to come back and then write ing. It doesn't give good joining. Instead of that, if you write downward L circle and ing, it gives good joining. Here we prefer downward L. So like this. When L is attached to circle and is immediately attached to another curved stroke, L is sometimes written upward, sometimes downward according to our convenience. After N and ing, L is always written downward. Example, only, wrongly, manly, etc. If we use downward L in the root word, it is retained in derivative words also. Example, manly. After N we write downward L. Now we have to write manliness. Manliness is derived from the root word manly. In the root word manly, we have written downward L. That should be retained in the derivative word also. Manliness, manly, and then ness. Enlist. Now we have to write enlisting. Enlisting is derived from the word enlist. In the root word we have written down that is retained in the derivative word also. Enlisting. When L is immediately by a vowel and followed by a horizontal stroke, then for example like, and then take alike. Here L is immediately followed by a horizontal stroke. Before L there is no vowel. In that case we write upward L and K. In case of alike, L is immediately followed by horizontal. Before L preceding vowel is there. In that case we write downward L and K so that we can distinguish between these two words like and alike. Another example, elm, lame. Elm, L is attached to horizontal stroke. Before L there is preceding vowel. We have to write downward L and M. Lame, L is attached to M horizontal. Before L there is no vowel. We write upward L. So that we can distinguish between the two words elm and lame. In the same way, long and along. So here also, L is attached to horizontal. In case of long, there is no vowel before L, we have to write upward L. In case of along, L is attached to horizontal stroke. Before L, there is a preceding vowel. So, L is written downward. After the form F, V and circle K, if L comes, after L, if there is a following vowel, it is written upward. Otherwise, it is written downward. For example, fall. After F, L is there. After L, there is no vowel. So it is written downward. But in case of follow, after F, L is there. After L, there is following vowel O. So L is written upward. In the same way, V also. Whale, after L there is no vowel, we write it downward. But valley, after L there is vowel, we write it upward. In the same way, after circle K, scale, here there is no vowel, it is written downward. But scaly, after L there is vowel, it is written upward. Medial L is generally written upward. Here also the word generally important. That means in 99% of the cases, medial L is generally written upward, but sometimes it may be written downward also. For example, in the case of unload, unlock, vulgar, vulgar. But in some cases like film, volume, etc., the medial L is written downward. Only in rare cases like this, the medial L is written downward. Otherwise, medial L is always written upward. Ish, we know it is written from upward to downward. This is ish. Sometimes this is written from downward to upward also. So this is downward-ish, this is upward-ish. When ish is joined to another curved stroke, it usually follows the direction in which previous curve is moving. For example, you have to write the outline for fish. F. You know, F is a part of a circle, it is moving upward. So fish is also written upward. But N is an exception. Even though N is moving upward, after N, ish is always written downward, as in the word Nash. Gnash. Nash. In case of stride stroke, if there is an initial attachment to the stride stroke, which are the initial attachment? Either a circle, saw circle, or steel loop, etc. Then the ish is written opposite to initial attachment. For example, you have to write the outline for brush. Now for burr, you have to add ish. Here initial attachment is aruk. It is at the left hand side. So if you have to write ish opposite to the initial attachment, you have to write ish upward. Spacious. Here the initial attachment is circle. It is at the right hand side. If you have to write ish opposite to that initial attachment, you have to write downward ish and circle. If there is no attachment, initial attachment, so ish is always written downward in case of straight stroke. But in case of D, after D, ish is always written upward, as in the word dash. In case of other strokes, push, bush, etc., we write a downward form. But only after D, ish is written upward. So this is about this chapter. Next, we have got the phrases to learn in this chapter. If you write a big circle above the line, it represents as is. If you write a big circle on the line, it represents is as. This circle on the line represents this is. L steel downward R represents last year. T steel, if you write it above the line, it represents at first. J stilo N out of tongue. It represents just now. You practice these phrases several times, and afterwards, whatever grammalogs that have come in the previous chapter, at least you write them at least one line each so that you will remember them. Next, you open exercise 73 in the textbook, page 89. So, as usual, you read the shorthand outline, copy the shorthand outlines, and transcribe it. Then you check up with the key that is given at the end. If you have made any mistake, you write those outlines several times so that you will not repeat that mistake. Next, exercise 74. Go to the key. There you will find shorthand outlines. You read those shorthand outline, copy those shorthand outline and transcribe it, and check up with the key that is in exercise 74 in page 89. If you have made any mistakes, you write those outlines several times so that you will not repeat that again. Now I will give dictation. Exercise 75. Please get ready. Start. A life of leisure is a life of pleasure. Full stop. Needless to say, this is a fallacy, but false as it is. It is fairly widely spread. Many foolish fellows bewail their lack of means to choose either to lull or to labor just as they like. Full stop. They look jealously on those who appear to have nothing else to do but eat and drink and enjoy a merry life when the poor man toils ceaselessly for food and lodging for himself and family. Full stop. But in simple truth, there is no more awful life than the lazy, useless life of the idle man, and it is also true to say there are exceedingly few rich men nowadays liable to the charge of laziness because they know the busy life is the happy one. Full stop. Happiness is an elusive thing, and more rich men than poor fail to grasp it. Next. Exercise 76. Please get ready for dictation. Start. Dear Sir, the volume of the French Revolution for which you ask in your favor of the 1st July shall be delivered to you early tomorrow. We are just now out of stock of the life of Lord Lumley, last year's best seller, and we are unable to say when we shall receive copies. We have a daily delivery from the wholesalers, however, and you may rely upon our mailing the volume to you as soon as it reaches us. We are taking the liberty of enclosing for your approval naval lessons of the War by Philip Bailey. Please return this with the next parcel if it makes no appeal to you. Yours truly.